Welcome to another episode of the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht, and today's guest is Esther Avant, author of To Your Health. And Esther, you also have a podcast on this topic. So I are with the same title. So I'm really interested to hear about your book and kind of your podcast as well, and why you wrote this. What is your goal here? What did you write the book for?
Yeah, great question. And thank you so much for having me. I spent the last almost 20 years as a health and weight loss coach, starting with personal training, getting into nutrition coaching, and then a combination of all of the above, working with primarily middle-aged working moms who just felt like they had been dieting endlessly. They were struggling to be consistent and ultimately felt like they were failing at all the things, but especially at taking care of themselves. And through working with hundreds of women, I kept seeing the same things pop up. Women who were saying, I know what I should be doing, but I'm just not doing it. And I just feel like there are so many demands on my time between my work and my family. And I want to lose weight. I want to feel better. I'm just not making it happen. And I wrote the book to help women like that achieve their health goals in a sustainable, compassionate, effective way that's not relying on another restrictive plan with a lot of rules, but takes a lifestyle based approach that builds lasting habits, develops consistency, commitment, and confidence, the three C's of success I talk about in the book, and then gives the reader a framework to focus on the most impactful behaviors, how to get away from the shame and the all or nothing thinking, and take compassionate ownership of their health, with the goal being to be healthier, happier, more confident, and better able to thrive in every area of their lives.
I laughed when you said something earlier because I have literally had that conversation twice this week. Once with my husband, once with my daughter, where I said, I'm like, I know I need to eat better. I need to exercise again. Like I have just not been good about it lately. And a big part of that is because I started my business last year and I'm so focused on that. And that is like the priority, and everything else is secondary. And so it doesn't happen. And I was telling my daughter yesterday. So my daughter she's right now, what do you call it? She's doing a bodybuilding, she's training, she's doing a
Oh,
bodybuilding
wow.
competition. So
Okay.
like she's eating perfect. Actually, probably not perfectly because you are starving yourself at this phase. But anyways, but she's like weighing everything she eats, and she's doing such a great job. And I was telling her yesterday, I had 2 bags of chips and a smoothie. Which actually the smoothie was not the worst thing, but that was actually good for me. But for lunch yesterday, and I was like, but this is what I'm doing to myself because it's middle of the day, and I'm like, crap, I have another meeting and I don't have time. And I have chips right over there in the drawer, and that's just quick and easy. And she was like, yeah, you just have to like, you should just bring some chicken breasts and some like healthy stuff. And I was like, I know, I just have to, like, I have to plan and think. And so, anyways, so apparently I'm exactly your target audience.
It's true. It sounds so, so familiar. And that's exactly what it is, especially for business owners where there's not a start time and an end time. It's just all consuming. And it always feels like you're working on achieving the next milestone. And once I do, then I can breathe, then I can recalibrate. And that time just
Yep.
never comes.
Yep. Wait, it's gonna come though, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna come.
Yeah.
I know, because I keep saying that. I'm like, once I hire this person to do this thing or whatever, like I'll have more time. And then it just does not
Just other
happen.
stuff fills the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have meetings and anyways, yes, this is definitely the stage of life I'm in. Anyways, okay. So I'm your target audience. I imagine there's a lot of them out there listening. What, what is your advice for me? Like, what do you teach people like me to do to get in the right mindset and to start focusing on? Because that is the other, I say, I'm like, I know what I should be doing. I'm just not doing it. So how do I get
Yes.
there?
That is it. It may even be the opening line of the book, actually, is I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. It's so relatable. And what I've noticed is that most women who say that to me are almost saying it as this like final throw up their hands. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not doing it. That's the end of the road. And it's not. This is just the beginning. The thing you want to do next is ask yourself, why not? And generally, the things that kind of come most quickly to top of mind are, I guess I'm just lazy, or maybe I'm not motivated enough. And those are not the reason. That is what we have conditioned ourselves to believe after probably decades of failed dieting. But there's nothing wrong with you. You're not lacking anything because you have struggled to make your health a consistent priority. There's a lot of demands on our time. It is normal that this feels just like one other thing I'm struggling to get a hold of. So we really want to get curious, not from a place of guilt and shame, but genuine curiosity of what can I learn here? So if you dig a little bit deeper, instead of the lack of willpower motivation, you'll get to semi-useful things like, I just feel like I don't have time. All right, time we can work with because number one, it probably doesn't take as much time as you think it does. And number two, there are probably some tweaks we can make to your day-to-day life to help you carve out a little bit more time to then devote to these things. So the first thing you want to do if you're in that I know what to do, I'm just not doing headspace, take out a blank piece of paper, set a 10-minute timer, and just kind of brain dump all of the excuses, all of the justifications, all of the rationalizations as to why you're not, and see what comes up. And scratch out anything that basically boils down to a personal shortcoming, and then just see what the categories are. There's time is going to be one of them. Another is likely to be just like general overwhelm, feeling like there are so many things you need to change that you don't know where to start, and it doesn't feel like it's going to make any difference if you start with just eating a better lunch when you have all this other stuff you got to do as well. We tend to have these underlying feelings of, if I can't make a drastic overhaul right now, it's not even worth starting. So you start to get some clarity around what it really is that's keeping you stuck. And then the second part of my book is at the time I was calling the Gone for Good framework that I was using in my coaching programs that addresses all of these common challenges, the time and the overwhelm, lack of support, being your own toughest critic, and helps you systematically overcome all of those things.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I think that the excuses are in like what you said, like thinking that if you can't do all of it, then it's not worth it. Like it's if I want to lose weight, I have to like exercise and diet and whatever, all the cut out alcohol, whatever. But yeah, I have just been like struggling with that for a while. Okay, you just got to make some kind of change, right? You just have to do something but then each day goes by and it's hard to do. It's hard. I'm curious what you think about. I mentioned that my daughter does that bodybuilding and watching her go through that has been interesting. For one, I think she's learning really good things about like how you eat and how food affects you. That's something that she's going to really understand because she's really aware of everything she's eating. I also am very concerned about the obsession that it creates especially for girls, for women, that, yeah, I'm concerned about that. I don't know how it'll be. Her competition's coming up here in a couple weeks. And so we'll see. I keep asking her though, are you going to be able to just eat normal? Are you going to be able to go back to just eating like normal food without feeling like you have to weigh everything? Anyways, but I'm curious what you think about those types of like competitions, or even I'm motivated a lot by if I'm running a marathon, like that to me is if I'm set my like whatever, set my sights on this is going to be my schedule, like I will do it really well. Then once it's
Mhm.
done, it's like I just stop doing anything. But anyway, those are two questions. But what is your thought on those types of activities or like competitions or whatever, and like how do you think, is that healthy? Is that to your health or is that detrimental? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I know a lot of people who've competed. I started my career in a commercial gym, and several of the other female trainers started doing bikini shows. And there's all this kind of politics that you learn about when you get involved in the industry. So
Mm.
they were part of this team under this big to-do coach who had other clients who were cover models. And I actually saw one of the cover models come into the gym one day, never would have looked twice at her, just a regular looking person, started to learn more about the aftermath of competing and just the drastic pendulum swings that a lot of these young women experience going from being in a probably borderline unhealthy state of leanness to not having something that they're training for, the rebound, then feeling like they've
Yeah.
totally lost control. And oh, I felt really disciplined. I felt really in control when I was training for a show. I'll do another one to get myself back to somewhere I feel good about. And around we go. So I think you're right to be a little bit skeptical about the healthiness of it. That said, I have seen women who are of the personality and the mentality of, I like to experiment on myself. I like to challenge myself. I like to have something specific that I'm working toward. And I'm going into this with my eyes wide open, knowing that I'm walking the knife's edge right now. And this has the potential to turn into something unhealthy. And a lot of the people I'm going to be around have crossed that line. So do not start looking at these other competitors as what defines health. But if you're able to remain clear headed and say, I'm being so obsessive about my diet and my training now for this very specific reason, but I also know this isn't sustainable long term, not the leanness, not the tanness, not the discipline, and I am planning for what my kind of re-entry into normalcy is going to look like. I think it can be a an interesting experience, an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
I would say, in my experience, the majority of people who compete do end up worse off mentally than they were before.
It's so obsessed. I would have never known that without watching her go through it, but it just forces you to be so obsessed with the food primarily, but the workout schedule and stuff too.
And the whole premise of, sure, you're only ever competing with yourself, but the whole thing is you're on stage being judged, your physical body is being judged by a panel of
Yeah.
people who are not
Yeah.
you and who
Yeah.
are then going to give you very specific criteria about where your body is lacking. So you need to be in a really good mental state
Yeah.
to take that on and not let it consume you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll report back on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been interesting to watch that. Yeah, and then for me, like I've gone through periods of time where it's like I can go to the gym and be very consistent if routine makes sense, right? Pre-COVID, my husband and I had a great routine of every day, end of the day, we'd go to the gym together, and then we'd pick up the kids from whatever their after school activities were. Like it was just such a great routine. And then COVID just totally blew that up, right? You couldn't go to the gym anymore, and I had 2 weeks of I'm just gonna drink wine every night because it's COVID. It's 2 weeks. And then after
Right.
a month, my husband was like, "You probably need to like get some kind of new routine." I think it took me a few months and then I was like, oh, okay, yes. Anyway, so then got back into it, like some sort of routine, but like the gym routine never went back to the way it was before because it just then my kids' schedules changed and all that stuff. But then like I said, if I train for a marathon or a half marathon or something, I can be super consistent. I'm just curious if you have tips on that type of thing, like developing those types of I'm a routine person, so like I think that would work well for me. Maybe other people need different things. Like, do you take different approaches, like based on how people, like what people need in order to be consistent on their own? Like, how do you coach people around that?
Yeah, it's a great question because the consistency is everything. And I think to your point, a lot of times we want there to be one set routine that works for us now and will work for us forevermore. And when we get into a good routine and then something gets in the way, we tend to once again turn inward, blame ourselves. This is just what I always do. I'll be in a good habit for a while and then something disrupts it and it takes me months, weeks, years to get back to it. And that is stemming from the belief that the way I was doing things before is the only way and is the only thing that will ever work for me. But the reality of it is, our lives are way too dynamic for that. Sure, that was pre pandemic. It was also pre business. You are in a much different season of life than you were
Yeah.
then. And the same thing goes for as you have kids, as they get less dependent on you, as they leave the nest, all of these different variables in our lives are changing. So it's a little ridiculous that we acknowledge my marriage goes through seasons, motherhood goes through seasons, my career goes through seasons, but my health has to be this steadfast, always looks exactly the same, no matter what else is going on. That's just silly. When you hear it like that, you're like, well, of
Yeah.
course not. So I think the main thing is to again, just pause. We have a term we use in my coaching called life admin. And it's when you sit down and look at what you have in store in the near future and plan based on that. So look at your actual lifestyle right now. You probably could get back into a routine at the same gym you used to go to or one by your house. But is that what's going to work best for you right now? Because there are tons of options. And by living in the past, if I was doing really good then, all you're doing is making it harder to find what's going to work right now. So maybe it's I've got a couple sets of dumbbells at the house. I'm going to pop on a YouTube video and I'll do 15 minutes first thing in the morning before work monopolizes the rest of my day. Maybe there's a new kind of niche studio that opened. You know what? I'll try Pilates for the first time. It'll get me out of the house. It'll get me consistent. We'll go from there. It can look so many different ways. But the thing is to just recognize that all you're doing is gathering information and trying things and seeing what works now and reminding yourself these routines are here to serve me. I am not going to become a slave to them. So if I start to notice that a routine is no longer serving me or I've fallen out of it, I'm going to just take that in stride and pick back up where I left off with some sort of healthy habit. Just if you don't floss for a couple days, you're not like, I used to be a flosser, but now you're just like, oh, I'll just start flossing again. So just like chill out. Don't make it look a certain way. Just figure out, I know what I'm doing right now isn't working. So what's a little bit better than that that's going to work for this week, for this month, for this stage of my life?
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Your approach kind of reminds me a little bit of Atomic Habits, like how, and I keep thinking of that too. Like one of the things so in the summer, we tend to go on walks at night after dinner. And I hate it. I get home and I'm like, I'm tired and I just want to sit on the couch and do nothing. But my husband's a walker. So he's always, let's go for a walk. I'm like, ugh. Like, and then I can honestly talk myself out of it if I'm like, oh, but I already put on my pajamas or in I'm in a dress and I don't want to change. Like, I don't know, whatever. And I've been telling myself lately, like, maybe if you just came home and like put on your like leggings and something to go on a walk in, then like whether or not he wants to go, you're ready. And like then it's something you don't talk yourself out of.
Yeah, it's really smart. It's just identifying the points of friction. I can't tell you the number of workouts that I've done in my pajamas, or I realize the thing holding me back is I don't want to put on a bra or I don't want to put on socks. All right, then I just won't. And it's worked for clients too. The freedom of, yeah, I can just wear whatever I want is so helpful. And for you to do that reflecting, like, what is it? Is it that I hate the act of walking? No. There's this small pebble in my shoe that I'm just letting be this big deal. What if
Yeah.
I just solved for that small thing and then it felt easier afterward? I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't done it yet, but I like just had that idea last night. Cause like I said, I mentioned Atomic Habits. I don't know if people listening or watching know of that book, but he talks a lot about just like the little things that like little shifts that you can do. And he talks about one of the, I think stories he tells in the book is like somebody who like needed to develop a gym routine. I don't know if I'm telling the story exactly right, but it was something like that. And he like would talk himself out of it. And because it was like, oh, I gotta drive all the way there. I have to do whatever. And he started like his little tweak was like just driving to the gym after work or whatever. Okay, just drive to the gym. And like sometimes he'd drive to the gym and then drive home. But like, he started getting into this habit of now I'm here, so I might as well work out. And so like I started thinking of that as okay, maybe if I just put on the leggings or put
Yep.
on the shoes and just do it almost out of habit when I get home, just do that. And then maybe that will just make me a little more willing to just go do that. I don't know why. Like that's just like one of those things I'm always like, ugh, I'm tired and I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah, no, it
But
totally makes
yeah,
sense.
those
I did something very similar. I first started working out when I was in high school, and I used to have to drive about 20 minutes to the gym from school. And I grew up in Maine, so the winters were super cold. And very similarly, it was like all these mental games of you don't have to work out, but you do have to drive to the gym. Once you're there, you can turn around and go home. I'd park. My clothes are going to be so cold because they've been sitting in the car all day. I don't want to put them on. I don't have to, but I do have to go inside and swipe my card and then I can leave. And it was just like every little kind of milestone. I would warm my clothes up on the hand dryer in the bathroom till they were warm enough to put on. And then I would say, go do 5 minutes on the treadmill. And 99% of the time, I'd end up having a good workout. But I think also we make ourselves feel bad for needing to play tricks on ourselves like that, when the reality is it's normal. It's just because we have human brains that unfortunately don't remember how good it feels to eat well and to move and to do the things that
right,
are good for us.
right.
So let yourself use all of the tricks at your disposal. Let yourself use the alarms and the psychological games and things like that, because it's going to help you build momentum. And there will be a point where you get into a good enough routine that it becomes then self-supporting and you'll continue doing it. But there's nothing wrong if you need to rely on the tips and tricks in order to get stuff done. That's just you being human.
Right. Yeah. So your book is, so you have your book and your podcast. You're still, the podcast is something you're currently doing?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And do you work with men and women, primarily women? Like what is your engagement with people? So you have the book, but are you also doing like kind of one-on-one coaching, or how does that look?
Yeah, all of the above. The book is intended to be your companion guide if you want to do it on your own. And a big part of the book is talking about how you need support and things like that. But support doesn't have to be in the form of hiring someone. But if you feel like I've got the book, I still have questions or I still need some help, I speak, I do workshops, I work one-on-one with clients. And what that looks like is anything from just tech support to monthly calls, weekly calls. The main thing is that it really helps to know that somebody is involved with you and cares about your success and believes in your ability to be successful. So much less of what I do is, yes, we write workouts. Yes, we talk about nutrition targets and things like that. But more so, it's just the day-to-day support through normal life. I know I said I was going to go for a walk today, and now it's the last thing in the world I want to do. It's the little pep talk to remind you actually are going to feel better. And it's not just because you did the walk, but because you're following through on what you said you would do. Just somebody who can continue to keep your goals at the forefront of your mind and remind you that you're capable of reaching them, I think makes a world of difference.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. In my last episode, I talked with my guest about getting a business coach. We were talking about how important it is to have a coach in your business. I also have seen, so I mentioned my daughter doing the bodybuilding. My son also is an athlete and training. He's always training for something. Like he's a football player, trackster. What do you call that? Anyways, what do you call that?
I think a track athlete.
Track athlete. Okay, he does that. He
Encompasses
runs
a lot of different activities.
But both of them have coaches. Like he hired a coach outside of like the school coaches, and then my daughter has her coach for bodybuilding. Anyway, I just think that like having a coach for whatever is like important to you is really great to have. And sometimes I know people will hire athletic, what do you call that now? The coach at the gym, like the physical trainer. Thank you. Personal trainer. My goodness. Like my middle age, not being able to remember words right now. But anyways, yes, the personal trainer in the gym, that seems normal, but like also hiring like a health coach, I think is a great resource for people, especially if it's just something like that's bugging you, that you're struggling with in some way. So it's great that you offer that kind of thing. I will link to your health in the show notes of the podcast. But what other ways can people find you online, learn more about what you're doing, and connect with you?
Thanks so much for asking. Yeah, the book is available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. The podcast, same name for ease of finding them, is available wherever you do podcasts. That I've been doing for coming up 4.5 years now. And there's over 300 episodes. So that's a really great way to kind of learn about my philosophy. It's transitioned from being just exercise and health focused to more self-improvement, a little bit broader. So there's a ton of good stuff there. And my website, estheravant.com, has links to all the things. I'm most active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Great. Esther, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your book with us and your overall message. I think it's great. So unfortunately, I do have to check out your book because I feel like I need that reminder in my life. So thank you. Thanks for putting that out there, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyshuckneck.com